Morning. Happy Friday. Walk with me. Talk with me. Where am I going? Where am I holding this? I don't know. How do you guys watch these? I'm curious because I don't know how I should hold the phone. It's like I brought one up on the computer and it doesn't like the portrait view. But like if you're on your phone, it doesn't really matter which view it's on. So I'm just curious. Anyway, I wanted to ask you guys what it is you want me to talk about on these walks, but I can't really fill a half hour with that, so I gotta talk about something else. But the main thing was what you guys want to talk about, because it started with just my personal take on Borderlands 4, and then it's just kind of turned into a mental health thing, and I realized mental health is important, and not a lot of, I don't think it's talked about enough. Even if there's a lot of people that talk about it, it can always be talked about more, like due to personal experiences or just not being a doctor who makes money off of it. I think more normal people, quote unquote normal, regular people, should talk about it more, not make it so taboo. Because I'm pretty sure we can all agree everybody suffers from something, but I'm just kind of curious what people want to talk about, because it doesn't have to be that. This is just so I can kill time. I gotta get to work anyway, so might as well give my opinions on something that don't really matter. But that said, today we are going to talk about I guess not mental health. Mental health adjacent, I guess. I want to tell some stories that I've kind of seen and experienced. Not I didn't go through, but I witnessed people go through. And it's how I learned a lot about what things are. Like, there's one person I could tell like 50 stories about, and even without using their name, they probably know I'm talking about them right now. Without even telling a single one of the stories, they could probably look at this and go, that mother's... But that's what it is. I got my new gloves. I don't like them, but it is nice to be able to hold the phone with both hands, because they're so thick I can't really do it with one. Anyway, so I'm gonna tell some stories about some stuff that I've seen throughout my life that kind of pieced together what mental health does to people, in what ways that kind of helped me establish what it was when stuff started happening to me. That makes sense. The first one I think of is a member of my family. And I got a big family. My grandmother had 13 kids. She had 27 grandkids. And then a lot of them got married, and a lot of them started having kids, and I got a big family. My immediate family is me, 2 sisters, and my mother, but like as a whole, there were a lot of people around growing up. And one particular had a drinking problem. And it wasn't really like it was a problem for sure, but it wasn't really something the family concerned themselves with. Which, I don't want to say that, because, like, everybody cared, but nobody, again, I was a kid, so I don't know what the adults did, but I didn't realize the kind of problem it was. And obviously, if you're going to have a drinking problem, there's probably something going on in your head besides just, hey, this feels good in the moment. Because everybody knows it doesn't always feel good. But this one person had the problem. And I remember my mother doing everything she could to help it. And to me, it was just normal. It was just what it was, and I didn't think much of it, because again, I was younger. And I don't know what happened, but he stopped drinking, which was obviously fantastic. And like, he hasn't touched it since. Like, he's living a better life. He seems super happy. He's, he's living an actual life now. I don't know how long it's been since he stopped. I can't exactly remember. But when he did, he just did. It was just a thing he didn't do anymore. But again, we still had a big family. So there'd be family functions where people would drink, and it wouldn't bother him. It wouldn't tempt him. And now that I'm older, and I think about it, that's where the tough part is being tempted to do that. When you're surrounded by it after having a problem, it is easy to give in and feel like you should too. Like, nobody pressured him. There was no pressure for him to do it, but nobody stopped themselves, which in hindsight might be a little messed up knowing what he went through. But again, I don't know how much of my family knew the extent of the issue. Like I said, I was a kid, and I started piecing things together as I got older and remembering things. But I ran into him a few weeks ago. And we talked and we chatted, and it wasn't a great, in-depth, super meaningful chat, but it was just nice to be able to talk to him. And later on, it got me thinking back onto everything that happened and everything he went through. And I gotta be honest, I am so proud of him for the changes that he's made and how he just stopped. Because my family has a history of alcohol problems in some way. Which is why I did, a lot of quitting and then changing and the whole thing. Like, it is an addiction to people. But it is about control. Some people just don't have the control, and it's unfortunate. So when you eventually find the control, it's a huge deal. Something in the brain triggers, clicks, and you're like, hey, I can be okay now. And I hope you all find that. I did. It took work, and I'm sure this wasn't easy for him. I'm sure he didn't just wake up one day and, oh, that's it, I'm good. Like, it takes work. But I hope you all find it. I do. Because we all deserve it. We should all yearn for the relief of the stress our own minds make up. And that's just one story. Wasn't that good of a story, but it's one of the ones that got me thinking of just the different things people go through at different points in their life. Because if I were to see somebody go through what I watched him go through now, at this point in my life, I'd absolutely step in. I 100% would. Because it may be normal then, but you start to learn. And it's important that we learn. Another story is a friend of mine was big partier. And I was not a very social person. I was not at all. I'm still not really, but I definitely want to be more so now than I was then. These gloves also not working. Like, my hands aren't frozen, but they are cold. So these gloves suck. That's good information to have. So I gotta do this. I'll switch to one hand. Yeah, I'm not a social person. And I definitely wasn't almost 15 years ago when I met this person. But they were a big party goer and social butterfly. I was closed off, and that's it. And the two of us did not like each other. We just worked together. That was it. We worked together. Couldn't really stand each other. I don't know if we hated each other. That's not... Hate is huge. Hate's a big thing. So I don't think we hated each other. But we didn't like each other, for sure. And one day something happened. And I knew something was bothering them. And being who I am, being around this person in that mood, I didn't like it. So I said, okay, fine. What's up? Who knew that would change my life? I don't know if those are the exact words, but it's basically all it took. They got invited to a party. They wanted to go because it was a party, but they didn't want to go alone because they didn't really know the people that invited them. They knew who they were. You know, somebody else that worked with us. And just, was trying to make friends and this whole thing. And they wanted to go, but they didn't know anybody. I did know people because I had worked there longer. So eventually, basically what happened is this whole conversation turned into me going, well, do you want me to go? It made them very excited. Because I was like, you know what? I could try to be social. I could do this social thing. We'll figure it out. Go to the party. Make them feel better. I'll get out of the house. Whatever. Well, turns out that one thing introduced me to my best friend of now almost 15 years. Now, I could say I'm an empath and feel when something's wrong and sense emotion in people or whatever. I could. Or I could just say that they don't hide emotion very well, or maybe they meant to not hide the emotion. I don't know. But it can't hurt to ask questions. Know when to ask the questions, because you're not always going to get an answer, and you're definitely not always going to get an answer you want. But ask the questions. Hey, what's wrong? Hey, how we feeling? Hey, where'd you get those shoes? Those are pretty dope. You might have that connection with somebody. And it's hard to make friends. And then as you get older, it gets even harder. So just like ask a question. Don't be afraid to ask a question, especially if it's somebody you don't know. Because, I mean, I guess the worst that'll happen is you ask the question, they go, what? And then just like stab you. But that's like the worst and very, very unlikely. Because while they may not give you a response you want or expect or anything like that, they'll probably just brush it off and not care. Which, if it wasn't somebody you wanted a connection with in the first place, that shouldn't matter. Just let yourself be a little bit vulnerable. That's all. Like, vulnerability is a big part of growth. I was confused as to why there was so much traffic here this morning, but then I remembered that it's my normal time and not the hour early I've been going in. Let yourself be vulnerable. Just a little bit. I'm not saying go cry in front of strangers in public, but say words. We're never going to exist on this planet together if we can't talk to each other. If you ask a question, you get a bad answer, you can just walk away from that person. You did fine not knowing them before that moment. I think you'll be okay after that moment. We all play a story in somebody else's life that we don't know. You might work in an office with a bunch of people you've never talked to. I walk down the street every day, passing so many people. And in that instant, I become a part of their story. Period. I see them exist. We are a part of each other's story. It doesn't need to go farther than that. But the fact is, it is that. And one of these people that you pass, without even realizing it, you may have changed their life just by them seeing you. They may think about you all day till it drives them nuts, which doesn't sound great, but you have changed that person's life. So just be open, be vulnerable. If I wasn't open at all, if I was as closed off as I wanted to be, I would have never met any of my friends. Because most of them, like 4 of them, I guess, not 3 of them, started with us not even really liking each other, being somebody else's friend. No, it was 4, yeah, it's crazy. 4 of my closest relationships were because we didn't like each other and then stuff happened that found common ground. Because living in a world of misery isn't good. It's just not good. Misery loves company, but that's why you need to kick misery out of the door and let everybody go with it that wants to. Did you finish the story about the party? No, there wasn't really a story to it. I guess that was the point of that story. Is that just be vulnerable. The 2 of us were in a moment, and we've been friends for 15 goddamn years now. I had another story, which is, I guess, a combination of 3 stories, which I'm not really going to tell the stories. I'm just going to tell my side of things. As a single guy, I do see a lot of attractive women. More so now, probably because I'm single, than in the past. But it doesn't mean anything. They're just attractive because people are attractive. So it's always awkward knowing that I know this. They don't know that I know this, but knowing that I know this, it's awkward for me to talk to anybody because I don't want them to think it's just because I find them attractive. So I tend not to talk to anybody. But there's a few instances where conversations come up and people start talking to each other. And I've been told that the aura or the vibe around me, whatever scientific word can get put there, is that people can approach me. People can feel like they can walk up to me and open up to me and be vulnerable and talk to me without feeling judged. I've been told this. I don't know how true it is, but it feels pretty true given the point of this story. So I don't initiate much conversation, but sometimes conversations happen, whatever. And I've had 3 people tell me their deepest secrets. I didn't really pull them out. You know, the conversations ended up with them, something bothering them. I asked if they want to talk about it. A little back and forth. And then they just tell me this thing that's eating away at them. And it's horrible things. And then 2 of these 3 I never talked to again. I've tried. I've reached out to get no response. And while it's nice to be vulnerable, that's a lot for one person. To hear such tragic things, to hear a story about what made you you, about what got you to this position and why you are the way you are. Even if who you are, I feel like is a bad person, knowing how you got there and what made that helps me understand better, which is kind of important. But to hear these awful things and then just never be able to talk to you about anything again is crazy. That's crazy. From my end, like, now I just have that information. Now that's just something I am living with. And you know nothing about me. And I've always been, not always, most of my life, been that guy. That's sort of people's trauma dump. Which I did talk to somebody about the other day, and using trauma dump feels like a bad term. But I'm just going to use it here because it's what everybody understands. And while I don't have a problem being that guy, I don't love the feeling of just only having that information. Most of the secrets that I have aren't mine. I don't have many secrets. I tend to be pretty open. But that hurts. And I guess the point of that story, since the other two had a point, I guess the point of that story is, while you should be vulnerable, you should also have boundaries. So, like, if they felt comfortable enough to talk to me about this stuff, I should have been like, hey, make sure we talk about other stuff too. Make sure that we're still going to have some sort of relationship here. Give me a minute here. I go quiet when people walk by. I've been mistaken for like talking to people and vice versa. There's a group of people on the sidewalk, so I just wanted to make sure nobody thought I was talking to them. But like, if I had set up boundaries of like, I don't want to know unless it's something that can continue on with us still conversing, or some I'm not great with the words, but like something, if I had set up some sort of boundary. But at the time, I didn't have boundaries. I didn't know boundaries. Now I have boundaries. Now I know. This is how we learn. So yes, I guess the takeaway of that is know your boundaries. Have your boundaries. Be you, but don't let people take advantage of who you are. I think who you is actually does make more sense, even though it's not Englishly correct, because it is who you are. So who cares? You know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm getting at. Don't let people take advantage of you. Have boundaries. Always learn. Be vulnerable. Have boundaries. That's your takeaway. There you go. But let me know. What do you want me to talk about? It's getting really cold. And I don't know how often these are gonna happen in the winter. But we're here. So, yeah. Again, it doesn't need to be mental health adjacent. It could be about anything. I don't know if I could do a half hour on Game of the Year candidates, since I haven't played any of them. But if that's what you want to hear, or if you want me to tell more stories, I can try to think of some. Just, I don't know, in general. What do you want? What do you want to hear? What do you want this to be? Let me know. Thanks for the walk. I appreciate you. Take care of yourselves. Good luck.